Ready? Here we go. I'm going to go over this review sheet with you guys real quick. We don't need to go over a lot of it. I'm not going to sit here and teach everything, just to call your guys' minds to a few things that you might have some questions in the next couple of days before we get ready for our test on Tuesday. So again, you can find this in Schoology. We've talked about this, but just as a reminder, we are going to expect 250 Scantron questions and 3 essay responses over the 3 hours for our exam. The part 1 is 70 points. The part 2 is 30 points. So each essay is worth 10 points. Please be aware that I am looking for 3 essays. Each essay is asking you to write a well-written response. So be sure to write well, use complete sentences, use the appropriate punctuation, spelling, use everything that would show me that you know how to write a well-written paragraph, or a well-written essay, I should say. Okay? For the Scantron, you need a pencil. And I would also say you do need a pen. If you erase anything and would like to indicate the correct answer, if you don't think you've erased well enough, please circle the correct answer in pen so I know. I would also recommend using a pen for your part 2, but it is not required. Okay. Let's skip to the essays first. Possible essay topics. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And there will be 5 on the test, and you will choose 3. I'm going to go over each one and say, if you choose this, what I want you to make sure you include. So, number 1, process of canonization. If this is an essay and you choose this, be sure to include the steps and the requirements for each stage for each stage in its own paragraph. So each stage gets its own paragraph for the process of canonization. Okay. If the Blessed Mother is an option and you choose it, be sure to clearly identify each apparition and the people and the events associated with it in each of its paragraphs. So I want each apparition, so Our Lady of Lourdes, Our Lady of the Pillar, St. Catherine Labouré with the apparition of Rue de Bac. Each one of those is its own paragraph with its own people. The Mendicant Orders and their founders. So we will be talking about St. Francis and St. Dominic. With Francis, we would also be talking about St. Clare. And St. Dominic, we would also talk about the female Dominicans. We can split that into 2. So there are 2 paragraphs. And I would talk about Francis, his life, and his order. And Dominic's life and his order. And there are 2 more paragraphs. So easily you got 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs plus an intro and anything else you want to say. So that's how I would break up the paragraphs for that one. Monasticism and its founders. Remember, monasticism and mendicants are 2 sides of the same coin of religious life. So monasticism, you would want to talk about Benedict. Scholastica, you want to talk about Ora and Labora. You want to talk about the rules. Each one of these things should be its own paragraph. Saints of the Western Hemisphere. We can go up here, and I will say this for the last time for the year, the Western Hemisphere is North and South America. Who would those saints be? You can talk about the Blessed Mother because of the apparitions in the Western Hemisphere. You would talk about St. Martin de Porres, St. Rose of Lima, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, Junipero Serra, Pierre Toussaint, Oscar Ramiro. They are all considered part of the Western Hemisphere. If that is your essay, It's not just going to say pick all of them. It's going to tell you how many. Each one is its own paragraph. Non-European saints. Make those guys blue. So non-European saints. You could also choose the Blessed Mother because of the apparitions that took place outside of Europe and the fact that Mary was not from Europe. Augustine of Hippo, that is Northern Africa. So other non-European saints, well, anyone from the Western Hemisphere is non-European. So St. Martin, St. Rose, Elizabeth Ann Seton, Junipero Serra. Even though he was from Spain, he did his work in the Americas. Pierre Toussaint, Josephine Bakhita was non-European, even though she ended up there. She's not from there. Oscar Romero. And even though St. Teresa of Calcutta is from Albania, we're going to say she's non-European because she did most of her work in India. But the rest of the history of the church, you got, Pope Francis is non-European, but he's not a saint yet. So everyone else from section 2, it's basically the history of Europe, unless you want to count the saints we talked about in the call to discipleship. All right? Great Schism, Great Western Schism. We've done this before. We know how to break this up. This is East-West. This is France and anti-popes. Again, another one we've done, Protestant Reformation and Council of Trent. Vatican II, we've done recently. We've done this recently, and there's a video on this, and the sacraments we just finished up. So those should all be easy essays if you get those. All right? For everything else here, that was trimester 2. Would think this is all trimester 2 up until here. This is all Tri 2 stuff. You should have outlines and everything you need for that. This is all recent tests, quizzes, things like that. With the sacraments up here, remember every sacrament has scripture. Oops, wrong tool there. Scripture, a minister, a receiver, frequency, effect, form, and matter. Know all of those for each sacrament. Know the definition, and then, as you go through, baptism, what's the form, matter, minister, rite, frequency, and I'll be honest, the scriptural foundation, just remember that there is scriptural foundation. You don't have to know the details behind that. Like, you don't have to know the quotes or anything like that. Okay? I'll be around. You'll do great. If you have any questions in the morning, you can come find me in my office. That's about it. All right? All the best. Good luck. See you guys on Tuesday.